All right. What's up, guys, and welcome to the Weightlifting Way of Life podcast here at the Barn Fitness. My name is Ryan Capers, here accompanied by Bailey Forst and Dr. CJ DePalma. We're excited to bring you another great show today. We hope you enjoyed our first one, our introductions, if it's out now, with our issues that we had. Today, I'm going to let CJ kind of introduce our topic of the day.
Hey guys, what's going on? So today we're going to talk about the open, training through the open, and how we can continue to either maintain, build, or prevent injury, I suppose, which is pretty... This is considered the season for CrossFit athletes, for most of us, like 99.9% that don't make it to regionals or the games. This is our season. So
would say. Basically
training in season now, because it's a little different than traditional style training.
Yeah, one of the things I think is really interesting about CrossFit is that you said, you know, some would say it's the season. Most CrossFitters, a high majority, you know, because oftentimes we get into the conversation of how CrossFit is CrossFit the sport and CrossFit the fitness program are two different things, right? And it's one of the things I love about CrossFit is how how new it is, and that there's a lot of debate on programming and how the training works. That's one of the things I love about it. So you being somebody that coaches a lot of competitive CrossFitters, how do you look at kind of, let's say, cycling for the open, like preparing for the open and then training during the open?
Yeah, so I mean, I try and break it down into traditional periodization if I can. I think that's the way to do it. So if you're a games level athlete, your off season is extremely short. It's technically it would be one of the longest sports then, but for a games level athlete, in season is still a preseason because there's levels. We have the open, which is 5 weeks, and most people that are going to go to the games aren't really preparing for the open. They're preparing for regionals. Right. Which is 2 months after the open, and then if they believe they're going to make regionals, they're basically training through regionals. They don't change anything. They take a couple days rest to just recover to be able to compete at regionals well, and then they get ready for the games, which is just 1 week. So it's really different compared to like football, which football is like what we compare periodization to because it's the only sport that has the exact same schedule every year no matter what, right? There's no different days. It's always Saturday, Sunday. You train during the week. Right. Travel one day, play one day, and then travel another day, and then you do the exact same thing during the week, right? Yeah. Off season, preseason, in season, postseason.
And the schedule is definitely interesting talking about that because it almost falls right in line with what CrossFit preaches is constantly being prepared all the time for anything. Right. And with that being said, that kind of falls in line with the idea of you don't need an off season. You should be prepared at all times for what we're going to throw at you.
Yeah, and I wholeheartedly disagree with that statement beyond any type of I don't know, anything. Right. I can't.
I think the original thought of CrossFit, right? When CrossFit was, hey, y'all come on out to my mom and dad's ranch and let's hang out and do some fitness. You know, I think it fits with that, but I think now that CrossFit is a serious sport that people are making livings off of, I think it's totally different.
Yeah, it's different. You know, so the need for an off season is extremely important in CrossFit. And then off season meaning, like, you know, you're just most CrossFitters are, you know, they're addicted to it. Right. So their off season is just
until they hit adrenal fatigue.
No. Oh my gosh. Stop that. More so, you know, they just need something to do to like occupy their time. And if you can get them to not focus on like an end goal and like just get them to just kind of do CrossFit for fitness during that point in time, I think that's a big key for the off season. And then most of them only take like a month, and we're talking like game style athletes here. This is like what I'm referring to right now. For your open athletes, you know, their off season is truly probably a lot less because they just don't train as hard. Like they're not putting out the volume and the effort that
the open for those people is more just like an annual test.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have like your regional athletes or your bubble, and like the bubble athlete is kind of where it gets really wishy-washy because they're training as hard as a lot of games and high-level regional athletes, but they're not getting the results. Right. So then they have 47 weeks to prepare for the next open. And that's a lot different than having to continue to prepare for regionals, which is 2 months after the open, and then the games, which is basically 2 months after regionals.
Right.
So those schedules are different. So for every athlete and every athlete level, it's different. So that makes a big play on how you're programming and how you're looking at it in their goals, right? So I think that's a big thing.
Absolutely. And when we look at, you talked about just normal periodization. I assume you mean like linear periodization, like our hypertrophy or speed. That obviously talking more of a sports, traditional sports idea. Right. But so, what are some of those big elements that you believe a CrossFitter needs that you're going to periodize around, breaking it down like that?
Yeah. So I think it's absolute strength. I think speed can be transitioned into gymnastics skill.
Right.
So we kind of like substitute there.
Sure.
Which then has to be prefaced by absolute gymnastic strength. Mm-hmm. So just general strength into skill under fatigue, into capacity, right? Capacity and volume, or capacity and like monostructural conditioning being sprinkled in throughout all of that. Continuously, in the off season or in like after your season's done, wherever it is that you end, you don't have to run open style workouts for a long time.
Right.
You have to get strong, but you have to maintain your conditioning. So like monostructural, bike, run, row, ski, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And now let's talk about this. Do you believe, so let me back up. So the traditional CrossFit athlete, to me, right, bases the training around the movements, right? The movements that you're going to perform in CrossFit, right? Which we don't always know the specific movements, but you got a pretty good idea, right?
Well, this year there's been 2 new movements, but no one was ready for those.
Oh, yeah, totally different. Never seen before, right? Completely out of left field. But kind of my point is you kind of see a lot of the better top-end CrossFit athletes are very active outside of the gym, right? And of course, we'll use the example of Rich Froning, right, who is constantly playing sport, right? How much do you think that contributes to an athlete? Because me as a coach, I want my athletes I want to build a base, right? I want to have a nice wide base of fitness, right? Especially in weightlifting, right? I want my guys to have a little bit of cardio, right? I want them to be able to sprint. I want them to be able to jump. I want them to be able to apply forces in every plane that we can think of, right? So that when it comes to weightlifting, we can narrow it down.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's a big important. I think that's really important to like create longevity. I think that's the biggest key to it. And that's the whole purpose of the sport itself.
But you don't think it creates a lot of sports performance benefit?
I think it can. I mean, CrossFit's a sagittal sport, regardless of how you want to look at it. It just is.
I can't disagree with that.
And I mean, does it help? Yeah, for sure. I don't think it hurts by any means. I think it gives you the ability to train harder in short amounts of time, because when you're not training hard, or when like your training is down, you can substitute out, 45-minute, row interval with game basketball.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so you're not just completely smoked. If we're referencing, these guys like Ben, Matt, Rich, I don't know, whoever else, all these big names, their training is a lot different than even your regional athlete, because
why is that?
They don't have to practice. They just don't.
It's just execution.
It's just capacity in what they can already do. So I've gotten in this argument a lot of like, why don't you just CrossFit year round? It's like, because we have to get better.
You have to develop skills.
You have to develop skill, and that's completely different than just keeping your capacity where it is. And for them, it's just staying healthy.
Absolutely.
Because that, your top 100 male and females in the world, females just a little bit closer. Like the top 100 they're all pretty close, and like the top 100 males, there's like a gap from like top 10 to your next 90, which is drastic. But
I agree with that 100%, and that's a big argument a lot in weightlifting. You hear about, like I said, we'll take somebody like the Russians. You'll never see a Russian weightlifter who's anywhere decent ever do a technique day or anything like that. Well, it's easy whenever you did all that from age 8 to 19,
right?
And so I agree 100%. I think if you're an athlete that you spent that time developing those skills, becoming proficient, understanding what everything looks and feels like in any given rep range and any level of exhaustion, all you have to do is just train.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Right. And that's when, you come in, you said the word train, you have practice, train, compete, right? Like a little Ben Bergeron statement there, and they're all different, right? But the highest level athletes, although they do practice, and they do, they don't really, I don't think they really need to. They're there, right? Their whole purpose of training is to just continue to build capacity under fatigue. And if they have something, they can hyper focus on it in the off season.
Yeah.
Unlike your regional bubble athletes, or your, maybe your low top 100s in the open in every region, they're still trying to get better at every facet. So their training is much more complex.
Right.
They can't CrossFit all the time.
Yeah.
Because they're not proficient enough to make that beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you hear a lot in CrossFit. You hear the words "work on your weaknesses" a lot. I mean, that's everybody. Everybody says they want to work on their weaknesses, and then we go and watch the games, and we see like a Brooke Wells in 2016 just dying on the handstand push-ups, right? Same as in the Invitational with her and the bar muscle-ups. And everybody says, "Oh, she needs to work on her weaknesses," right? And then I think that phrase is so important. And as you put it, it's very different for your average CrossFitter versus your games athlete, right? She probably doesn't have a lot of skill to work on in the handstand push-up, right? It's building capacity. Yeah. I agree. Let's talk about during the open. What can your we'll look at a spectrum. What can your average CrossFitter, right? From your CrossFitter that's just helping their team win at their gyms, intramural open, all the way up to say your fringe regional athlete, somebody that's kind of pushing that limit. What are some of the things that they can focus on during the open season? Already we're 2 weeks in, but what are some of the things they can be thinking about going into these last 3 workouts?
Yeah, I mean, I think and the initial thing is you have to look at if you're going to test or retest. That's the most important thing, because if you are, everything changes. If you're going to retest on Sunday or Monday, because everyone tests on Friday, right? We'll assume the schedule, right? So comes out Thursday, Castro throws another curveball, whatever, right?
Always just way out.
Yeah, totally.
He's so original.
Yeah, out of the box this year. So
it's going to be exciting whenever he throws that, Concept 2 stationary bike in there. That's going to be awesome.
The $3,000 bike.
I can't wait. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm waiting for that one.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
That'll be the fall of CrossFit.
Oh, definitely. Well, everyone keeps saying, we'll sidetrack, but everyone's like, bike, air salt. I'm like, the biggest growth in CrossFit this year for affiliates was in Brazil.
Wow.
And I will guarantee, like, percentage-wise.
Right.
And I think overall number too. I mean, it was like 200%.
That's wild.
That's an insane growth, right?
Like percent growth from what they currently
from
had.
what they had.
It's nuts.
From like 16 or 17 to 18. It's like 200%. That's crazy, right? I mean, you're talking like hundreds and hundreds of gyms.
They went from 3 to 9.
What do you mean?
Affiliates?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That was mean. That's really interesting.
Mean. But yeah, it was just an insane growth, right? So
yeah.
But you look at those, right? Brazil is not fortunate enough to have like the economic standpoint that the United States has.
Right.
So aerosol bikes do not, they don't hang out in gyms there as much as they do here.
Right.
So I can't ever. That's why everyone's like, oh, aerosol. I'm like, I just can't see him putting an aerosol bike in, because where CrossFit is gaining the most popularity are areas of like socioeconomic limitations.
Well, what I think a lot of people don't realize, and we'll get back to what we were talking about in just a second, but what I think a lot of people don't realize is the rower was just introduced in the Open in 2014.
Right.
That was the very first year. Mm-hmm. So it's still relatively new. Right. We've only seen it for the 4th year in a row.
Right.
So I think the idea of adding another piece of a large piece of equipment like that is,
it's going to be tough.
I think it's going to be some time.
Yeah, there'll be some time for sure.
And I think as much as it would be unlike CrossFit, I feel like they would let people know.
Yeah,
right?
They
just
would.
like the dumbbell thing.
Yeah, they
did.
Yeah,
they let everybody know.
Right.
It wasn't a lot of heads up, but they let everybody know.
Yeah, they let everyone know.
Hey, order these from Rogue.
Right. Yeah. So
training during the Open.
So training during the Open. So the first thing is you have to look at your goals. So goals, and making sure that you that you are understanding of what it's going to take to accomplish your goal. If it's just winning the intramural, helping your team win the intramural Open, you probably don't need to retest unless you just shit the bed, right? And it happens. I did on both weeks. So,
but I retested and I took 2 minutes off and I finally got to the cleans.
No, that's good. Did you not?
Well, I
get
mean,
to the
no,
cleans the first
that's what everybody does,
one? Right.
Yeah,
That's what our entire gym
So
did.
why shouldn't that person retest?
Well, I think I think you look at like your overall goals, right? If everything you're looking forward to for the year is based on just doing well for these 5 weeks, then you can retest. I think you have to look at the workout as well. You know, like the 55s, not a lot of people should retest that workout.
Right.
Because when they finish, they don't move very well for an extended amount of time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
As
we've seen this week with my weightlifting team.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, and like this one, yeah, like if you're not conditioned for a true sprint workout and you got big legs, you're a weightlifter, you can move really fast in this workout and push yourself beyond a limit that you're used to.
Which is what I did.
Which is what a lot of weightlifters did.
Multiple.
You know, they'll like, I mean,
it's struggling going into this weekend.
Right, because you guys have a meet this weekend.
Yeah.
Good job. Way
very,
to go.
Very
Way to go, athlete.
I was forced to the open.
Way to go, athlete.
It was 100% my fault. It's
That's
totally
right.
my
Good
fault.
job,
I
Coach.
shouldn't have pushed them to it, but you
That's
know,
all right.
we're doing it as a gym.
I mean, it's a local meet.
It
So.
was just unfortunate timing.
But for Bailey, it's only his 4th meet ever, you know,
right.
and so
Yeah.
it's
He'll be fine.
yeah, he's gonna be fine,
Oh,
but
no
you know,
doubt.
You
it's
lifted well just now. That looked good. Your lifts look good. When I walked in.
I need to hit that opener.
Well,
but
You'll hit
the
it.
good news is that he's progressively gotten better all week long.
Yeah.
So by Saturday, we're going to be in great shape.
Yep.
But it's, you know, it's not easy on them. You know, it's a little frustrating, but
Sure.
you know, they're going to be fine.
it was a normal Monday. Pretty terrible. Can't hit a single snatch. But, you know.
Yeah. All right. So back to so depending on if you're gonna hit it, we'll just say you are. Okay. We'll just say you're gonna retest on Monday. Okay. So it comes out Thursday. You test Friday. Saturday, if you're gonna retest, then that's a day you work on just some moving, right? Maybe some technical skill of the workout that you might have struggled with. So 18.1 would have, you know, maybe worked on transitioning in and out of the rower, getting more proficient with the dumbbell hang clean and jerk. Transitioning, you know, working on just a little bit of like modified training from row, toe to bar, clean and jerk, something like that. For 18.2, you know, really getting proficient on transitioning, getting comfortable using the new standard. That's what I would do on Saturday. Monday, you retest, and, you know, depending on who you are, we're just going with the intramural athlete right now. That's all you do on Monday. Okay, that's what you do, and that's it. Tuesday, if you're not exhausted, another skill day. You know, working on a movement that might not have been there, maybe some gymnastics. The way that we're doing it is if we retest on Monday, then Tuesday is still a high-level gymnastics day. Some form of like, right now it's what's left. We got chest to bars, muscle-ups. If you're not retesting, we pretty much have done muscle-ups on Monday, practicing them under fatigue. Tuesday is some form of chest to bar or handstand push-ups, since those haven't come out yet.
Right.
And then Wednesday is a CNS aggressive day, but just like monostructurally.
Right.
So like bike or run row. And some maybe light lifting and light bodybuilding, just to go through some full range of motion and, you know, just get a little bit of muscular fatigue in. Right. And then Thursday is a complete rest. No one listens to me and they don't they get on the bike. But that's just like 20 minutes on, you know, 40 RPMs or whatever. Yeah. So not moving very fast. Yeah,
so you're just kind of tapering down the week.
Right.
Yeah,
that's it.
I mean, it makes perfect sense. So what are, you know, the athlete that does, you know, let's say just your, you know, your Monday through Friday CrossFitter, right? They're just showing up to class. They test on Friday, they retest on Monday. Now they're freaking smoked, right? They're hurting all week long. What are we doing with that athlete? What are we telling them and working on them with?
I think the biggest thing is like we use CrossFit to what it's best for, which is like moving through full range of motion. And we use that as our recovery, right? So we take everything to like a 60%. You do what's on the board. Hopefully your programming is adequately based around whatever the open workout is. So if it's clean and jerks, you know, don't heavy clean and jerk the same day right before the open workout or whatever. And make sure that, you know, go through everything at like 60 to 70. So I do RPE, right? So rate of perceived exertion. So like a 6 or 7 out of 10. And when we just move through the workout like that, right? And make sure that you aren't increasing soreness. You aren't breaking down more muscle. So this isn't a building time. It's a maintenance time, skill work. And it's the same thing. It doesn't change. Yeah. You know, just use the class as you're a mover for the day, and don't try and PR your workouts.
Just be okay with not doing the best in the workout.
Yeah, there's one of my biggest things is ego. You just gotta check it. It's just so important. Mm-hmm. You got to be okay with just letting it go and using the workout as your recovery, but building your skill, doing the things you need to do to make sure you feel better on Friday.
Yeah, that's something we've worked on a lot here is helping people understand that it's okay to come in and go half speed. It's encouraged, right? Not many days of the week, but it's okay to come in and do it. Yeah. And so I think what we're going to start doing is get little signs that people hang around their neck and say, "I'm not going hard." Right now.
That's so good. I love it.
But yeah, and that's a struggle for a lot of CrossFitters, especially for your very, very green CrossFitters that have been doing it like less than 2 years, that are still all gung ho 100%. I'm crushing the It's so, I feel like it's really, really hard for a lot of people to pull off. Right. It's hard for them to understand those speeds, right? And for that same person, a lot of time, it's hard for them to understand red line, like where that red line is and how to stay in it. I think it comes with, of course, there's always your anecdotal evidence, but I feel like it's hard for a lot of CrossFitters to understand different speeds. Right? I'm going to hold 80%, and if we want to talk RPE in a CrossFit workout, I'm going to hold my 8 RPE, right? Or I'm going to just ease today, and I'm going to hold a 3, whatever.
I think a big thing, I think that's very important. I think it's a good system to go by. You just make sure your athlete knows what that means. Yeah, a lot of them don't understand it. They're like, huh? So it's
now. Good. Are we talking the 8 to 20 or the
6 to 20 the Borg scale?
6 to 20 the Borg scale.
Whoa, extra science major.
No.
Dang.
So who uses that? It's 1 to 10. Be a normal guy.
Just be a normal guy.
Well, no, isn't it the frowny face or the smiley face?
Oh yeah, that's much easier.
So talking about training during the open, obviously this is a weightlifting podcast, and you guys are weightlifters. How do you foresee someone's ability to maintain weightlifting? Is it important during the open? Is it not? How would you go about that?
Weightlifting is the only thing.
Anyways, that wasn't the question, child.
So to me, every question about
he got
training,
into a power stance, and he was like, "Let's do this." Before we started talking.
To me, every question in training always starts with what's the goal, right? What are you trying to do, right? If it's somebody like Bailey, and this is a mistake I've already admitted to. If it's somebody like Bailey who his primary goal is CrossFit, right? He's doing the intramural open right now because he's a coach, and he's one of the coaches for one of the teams. Right. Then obviously that's not a huge part of his goal. So the mistake is that he's going 1,000% in the open wad when we get to meet the next weekend. Right, literally, you couldn't make up a better example.
That's why I struggle with the whole.
How'd you do on the
RPE
workout?
Thing. Oh, I finished in 7:07 and 287 clean.
Nice.
Not bad for somebody who hasn't done CrossFit in
a
long time.
Well, I can't go with the whole half speed thing. I was like, I'll just go half speed, finish the workout, try and get a couple cleans in.
CrossFit experience, right? We just talked about that.
Yeah.
So.
And I've been doing CrossFit for a long time, since at least 2014.
Oh wow, that's longer than me.
Wow. Well, it was basically like garage CrossFit, like Ben Smith style,
he won the game, so I say that's pretty good.
I guess so. not nearly that good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it all goes back to goal in training, right? So somebody like Bailey, the best thing that we could have done is said, hey, go easy through the workout, right? Just kind of get through it, just post a score for your team, and let's make sure we're preserving for training, right? Let's do like a 7 RPE, something like that, right? Instead of a 14, right?
Wait, that's a 7 though. Are you talking about board? I'm confused.
No, I was talking to 1 out of 10. I was
just completely really wreck the body.
Yeah. And then what we should have done in hindsight is work the training around it, right? Mm-hmm. So I was really hoping the workout wouldn't be so hellacious on everybody, but it just absolutely crushed everybody. And like Monday's our last heavy day, essentially like our last percentage day before the meet. Everybody's lifting between 90 and 100% on everything for just a few reps, right? Really working on peaking everybody in. Usually that's everybody's favorite day before the meet. They're feeling awesome, just crushing it. And then everybody who did the workout on Friday had a really bad Monday. Everybody who didn't do the workout on Friday had a great Monday.
There you go.
Wait, who didn't do the workout?
Austin didn't do the workout.
Oh, okay.
And Brandon.
Oh.
Yeah. And so it's it's funny how that works, and it definitely tapered down it definitely flowed down through the week. I was really hoping that we would be in better shape by today, but like I say, it's okay. I mean, 8 days. The meet will be 8 days from that workout, so
Okay, as long as we don't do the workout tomorrow.
Yeah, not allowed to do that.
That's probably pretty smart.
I'm pretty positive at least some people are going to try.
Not any of the people that are competing on Saturday. They're not.
You might have to pull the reins of that one.
Okay. But yeah, so it all goes back to training goal. If this is somebody that's like somebody that you talked about earlier that is a CrossFitter and they're doing the meet on Saturday for fun, who cares?
Right.
I mean, obviously Friday is more important than the meet on Saturday.
Yeah.
So that's where it is. It all comes down to what your goals are.
Yeah, I got you. So talking about goals, so we'll get a little specific. The regional athlete likely going to qualify. How do you foresee them continuing weight training or weightlifting specific, snatch, clean, and jerk, and squatting? I think squatting is a big one through the open. It's very up and down, what they choose to do or not. So how do you foresee? What would you do?
So for me, from like a strength coach point of view, I would look at it as an in season, right? Like we talked about, this is in season. Now I don't know how you write your program, but the way I would look at it, in my inexperience with high level CrossFitters, is look at the open as a season, look at regionals as a season, and then look at the games as a season.
Okay.
Right, with small intervals of off seasons in between. Right. Not meaning that we're going to crank it up, but it can be a little bit higher, right? Because you're preparing, right? You want to try and crush in the competition and then peak back up into the next meet competition per se, right? So for that athlete, kind of the way that I would attack it is working with higher intensity the whole time with low volume, right? Keep volume well under, like say something like a prevalence table, right? Keep the volume on the bottom of the scale and just try and push some intensity. Okay. Keep heavy weights on them, but not destroy them.
So this is during the open.
Yep.
Okay, so then after the open, we have, we'll say the Southeast region has almost exactly 2 months. So what does that look like?
We're going to work on peaking linearly through 2 months.
You said off season.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We'll start back over. Over 2 months. I write more of a 4-week wave cycle on most everything, so that would really fit perfect into my style of programming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Cool.
Yeah. What about you? What are you looking at that as? Maybe we can get into a good argument here.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's an argument. I mean, I definitely have more of like an altered look. Most people that I know, they're definitely not doing percentages. It's always 10 minutes to a heavy or whatever, right? Putting a small time domain to it, like during the open.
Now, are you saying say something like that where you say 10 minutes to build to a heavy? Are you doing are you varying that, or is it what they feel for the day? Are you giving them an RPE?
Yeah, no, it's just what you feel, right? No, during the open, we always want no misses, right? So it's a heavy with no misses, right? We never want misses, but sometimes it's okay to train heavier to push.
You got to train how to miss.
Right. Yeah, that's something I struggle with. So that's during the open. And then, once we get through, we're talking something that's most likely going to make regionals. The open doesn't change any of our training. It doesn't change as an in-season for them. For the guaranteed regional athlete, they're not changing their training at all. Friday is just a workout.
Wow. So Thursday, what's a Thursday look like?
So a Thursday is normally a complete rest day. And then a Friday is either a test. So some people test on Friday or they test on Saturday, and they do Friday as a mock day. And they run through variations of the workout in different parameters.
Yeah, they split the workout up into pieces.
Yeah, into different pieces, or different stimulus of a sprint, and then lower intensity, higher intensity, something like that. So Monday yields either a retest. Pretty much everyone retests, even if you're a guaranteed regional spot. Everyone's got to retest because it's getting, especially now the 2-2 format. It's tight.
Yeah,
I mean, it's tight.
Yeah.
But
no
there's gonna be a lot of people that fall out. So there's gonna be a lot of teams that are really high that aren't even gonna qualify. And then Tuesday is normally a full training day of gymnastics, high level, and volume. So some form of like a basically based, and the training varies based on the Friday workout, and then you kind of piece together things from that. And then Wednesday is kind of what we do, which is like, you know, a monostructural day, maybe some squatting, maybe some light technique work, barbell, but normally not any high level gymnastics or anything like that. And then they just kind of train through it, you know, and it doesn't really change much of their traditional training, except that Wednesday day might have less gymnastics than like you're not in the open time. Because then everything else, you know, you just go back and then it's just a weekend, and then it's just a weekend, not 5 weeks. This is like the only time where like training does change for a long period of time, like slightly.
Yeah. So how are you looking at that, like those 2 months in between open to regionals?
I mean, it's a build. It's a capacity build and like, you know, teamwork. So training changes based on the fact that, you know, you have to be doing stuff together as a team, or if you're an individual athlete, then it's just a continued building capacity, starting to do lots of under fatigue style work. And then I know a lot of people alter their training to rest Monday, rest Thursday, and train Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because that's what regionals is.
And you talked about it before, and I think this is where you and me see things differently. Obviously, theory talking to experience, but I've always looked at everything from a, you know, if you want to say conjugate or whatever style, where we're going to build everything together. And you've talked about building things in more of a Western periodization style, right? Where we're going to build this and then we're going to build this. Why do you think that that's more beneficial than a build together kind of model?
I mean, it's just my preference, because the athletes that I've worked with the most needs more specialized work on specific attributes than like just learning how to be under fatigue.
Right. Well, and that's completely understandable. So what I guess what I'm getting at is why with those athletes would you not alter their programming slightly to, and we're talking about like competitive athletes, right? Not that's what I'm asking. Yes. Okay. So my question is why with those athletes are we going to work through phases during training rather than just alter their training to have a slight focus to that?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is like just to govern them, because they just want to go all the time.
So so it's more to give them a focus.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, you know, so we'll just go with after the open, we didn't make regionals. What does summer look like? Summer looks like long rowing and heavy things. That's just what it looks like.
Okay.
Sleds, picking up heavy things lots of times, and just getting strong. Lots of gymnastics, strict work, and then we start to progress back in, because that's like it's like our version of the off season, because like it's less, you know, the dynamic, you know, high level weightlifting for a ton of, you know, volume under fatigue is extremely taxing on the CNS. Your recovery is starting to limit. High level gymnastics is the biggest thing. I think it's very important to get off the rings, to get off the bar, get out of the kipping gymnastic motion for an extended period of time.
Right. We don't want to be too specialized in a sport where specialization kills.
Right. Does it kill though? I don't know. People are pretty specialized and they're pretty good at it still.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Best CrossFitters are best weightlifters.
But I mean, is specializing in everything still specializing?
What's being sort of good at all the things, never really good at one thing. I don't know. Matt did clean 380 like it was nothing, and then walked away from it.
That was freaking crazy.
He still had time left. He had like
minute and a half.
A minute and a half. That was unreal. I can't believe. If you haven't seen Matt Fraser's 18.2A, go find it on Instagram or anywhere. It's everywhere, so you can find it. It is unreal. A 385, was it 380?
380.
380 clean at the end with a minute and a half left, and just gives the, you know, that's it sign. And
he knows what he needs to do.
Yeah.
That's what Rich,
like,
Rich did that
I won.
for a long time.
That's good.
Yeah.
Rich did that for a long time. Like you would never see him push on a workout, because he would just be watching and he would hang out.
Yeah, he did what he had to do.
You know, 90% of the way in the workout, he would just be like, all right, I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing, and you're going to get tired, and I'm not.
Yeah.
That's what Matt does. I mean, that's just like again, it just shows like the girls can't do that. The girl competition is so much closer.
Yeah.
It's so, you know, I mean, it's so tight. Like you look at like the top 10 girls, 8 of them are like non-games athletes right now.
Wow.
You know, and then you look at Matt, he's got 70 points, and the next person has like 350 or something like that. He's just on a whole nother world already.
Yeah.
But the 20-minute workout and the weightlifting piece has created a great start to the open. Unlike years past, like it's really
we've always had to wait till later to get to the heavier workouts. It's always, I think as far as I can remember,
15-1 was the first clean and jerk. That opened it.
15-1.
Yeah, you're right.
So where were we at? No, programming. So I think the biggest thing, to take away from it is, again, it's theory. I think depending on your goals and like where you are in the sport and how proficient you are at certain things, it changes the way that you train for year round. Because you look at like the Krypton. Krypton's a great example. Everyone there CrossFits year round. All of them, and they also qualify like 7 people for regionals individually, which is insane in one gym. And they CrossFit all the time. That's just what they do all the time. But they don't really have to get better. Like Alex Smith is a great example of someone who doesn't have to get better at any facet of the sport, because he's probably the strongest weightlifter and probably the most proficient gymnast. Separately, they just got to combine them together in build capacity, and he'll be a top athlete very soon.
It's unbelievable. Now, what do you think about while we're on the subject of programming and in season, off season, in a lot of sports, it's super common to just take some time off after a big meet. Right. And in CrossFit, you rarely see a couple weeks off. Right. A lot of athletes go right back into training, and then there's a few that will take a month or two, but it's so rare. In your opinion, does that help or hurt athletes, or do you think it's just individual?
It's individual. I mean, you look at it, it's like, Sam Briggs is a great example. She's never taken more than a couple of days off. She had shoulder surgery last year, and she was like on the pull-up bar in under a month, which is insane, by the way.
Competed with a broken foot too.
Yeah, that was that was crazy. Walking around in a boot all day, and then we just take it off for the workout. So like someone like her, she never rests, and she hasn't for years. She's literally doesn't. And then you look at I don't know, I can't even think of anyone, but like, when I was down at CrossFit Seoul when they went to the games for the first time, when they got back, they took like 2 months. They were exhausted.
Wow.
But it was like, they put everything in. They people were like, like holding on jobs, like pausing school. They did everything they could to do as well as they did at the games. And they did great. They got 10th. And when they got back, it was like a complete absence of CrossFit. I think some of them didn't step in the gym for like a month.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's rare, but that's what they needed, but then your games level athletes, they're like, they just can't get it out of their mind that the person who beat them is probably training right now.
Yeah.
Unless they won,
Well, I think Matt Frazier took a good amount of time off after the games.
This year?
Yeah.
He literally said he was going to train on Monday. That was what he said when he won. He said, I'll start tomorrow.
Yeah, well, he went on several vacations.
Well, he probably did, but when he won, he was like, they were like, when does training start again? He was probably like Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
That's what he said. I was just thinking that in my head. But, again, does he have to train that hard?
No. Not when you win by that margin.
5-star athlete.
5-star results, baby. That's right. One of my favorite sayings ever.
All right, well, I think that's good. I think that's our time. You want to do our outro?
Oh, yeah. So this is the I almost said the CrossFit Way of Life. This is the Weightlifting Way of Life podcast.
It was today. It was the CrossFit Way of Life podcast.
The CrossFit Way of Life podcast. No, this is the Weightlifting Way of Life podcast with an athlete, a coach, and a PT, just talking nonsense and trying to make the world a better and stronger place.